Welcome back to everyone to This Is Our Story. This is a very special kind of intermission episode as we have brought in a special guest, my erstwhile once upon a time crush, which I have referred to a couple of times already, but we won't dwell on it too much unless you want to jump all the way into that awkward little story. But welcome to This Is Our Story, Rachel. Hello.
Hello, thank you. That's an awkward introduction. How do you go on from there?
You're welcome. And of course, we are joined as ever by the indomitable Briar, my sister, who has just realised none of us have actually been talking together since basically we left home, or around about that time that I left home, at least. About the time,
roughly 20 years ago, right?
Jesus, that's a long time.
Oh, it makes me feel old.
Yeah. I went away. Okay, I'll just start off with my last cringiest memory of talking to you is it was the night before. I think it was the night before I was supposed to leave to move away to uni. Do you remember? Do you know?
I'm politely smiling. Yes, I remember. You want to go there?
Well, I jumped right into it,
All right.
And sure. I remember sending you a text on my then shitty Alcatel phone with my little 3-inch screen. I ... I like you, and that was it. I think that was it, actually. And then there was
How long did it take you to come up with that?
Oh, mate, I go with original content.
Oh, gosh.
Man, I tell you what, I've learned a lot since then. And then I remember I was supposed to come over it might have been 2 nights before I left, actually. And I was supposed to come over to your place for some kind of party, and everyone was going to get together and they're all going to say goodbye to me. And I just felt so awful. Can't imagine why. And then I remember I called you and then like your whole family was in the background laughing. And I was like,
So I was
like, I'll see you. Bye. And that was it. Yeah. I didn't see you for like 6 months.
I was like, I just didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to give you he needs a hug. Probably not from me right now.
Yep. And funnily enough, it wasn't long after that I met my future partner. So it was all downhill from there. So it's basically all your fault.
There you go.
Okay, well, that's my get that tail out of the way. But kind of just wanted to start off. Just wanted to kind of start out with perhaps giving a wee bit of background to how you came to be in Kitty Kitty, and how we kind of ended up meeting you being at the same church. Because I don't know if you remember this, but my best friend Philip, who I mentioned already on previous episodes, he lived in the same house that you guys did. And then when he moved away in some kind of weird circle, or your family moved into this home that my best mate had been in. And so I was like basically refusing. I didn't really want to have anything to do with you because you guys had replaced my best friend.
I didn't know that. That's funny. Yeah, so we moved, me and my family moved to Kerry when I was 12, so the late 90s. And we were a family of 6. So I've got an older brother who was friends with Kieran. They were both in music. And then I had 2 younger sisters as well. So 4 of us, and we lived in the house that Kieran's friend Philip used to live in. So we replaced his friend Philip. It was an awesome house. It was on like 14 acres of citrus orchards and bush and
Man, I love that place. I love that house.
And yeah, and I think I mentioned before, like when I dream of going home, I always dream like home is always that house, and I'm almost 40. So that's so funny. Yeah, so we moved to Kiri and we were actually homeschooled. So similar to you guys, we didn't go to the Christian school. My youngest sister did, but we were homeschooled, so we had very, I guess, limited contact with a lot of other kids, and church was huge for us. We started going to the church and youth group from day dot, and youth group was like a big part of all of our lives. And Kieran, I think I was friends with you first because we were similar age. I think you were like kind of a year older than me. And then when Brian started coming to youth group, her and I became friends as well because we both loved horses.
Yeah, I think I was friends with you. Was it? I don't know if I was friends with you before I was with your brother, but I just remember, and I don't really know the kind of when it started, but I just know I started hanging out with you guys and your family a lot. And
we spent a lot of time at that orchard house too, right? Well, we were familiar with it, obviously because Philip lived there, but we have lots of memories of like going down to the river from your place and driving the tractor, going down the back of the orchard, and I always thought that was so much fun.
Oh yeah, it was such an adventure living there, and we had the river, and then we had because we lived in a citrus orchard, we had these massive bamboos that were growing between the orchards as windbreakers, and we'd climb up the bamboos until they bent over, and who was the bravest, you could stand there until it snapped. We just made off our own fun in the bush, and it was a pretty cool place to grow up, really.
Yeah, I don't know about for Briar as much, but definitely for me, your place was like my second home for a while.
Yeah.
Because in previous episodes, I talked about the fact I didn't have many friends, and your brother was like my only friend at one point, like my mid-teens. And so, yeah, I would just come and hang out, and we'd just do all sorts of random shit.
You would stay with us every Thursday. You come stay with us because that's when you guys had music practice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes
So we
sense.
always expected to see you on a Thursday straight after school, and then you guys go to music, and then you come back. Sometimes I'd go to music just to hang out because there's nothing better for me to do.
I remember coming in, and then your mum had, she would make that trays of that bread.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I also have this very kind of nostalgic memory of smelling that bread coming to your place. It was just, and staying up late and I remember watching Band of Brothers with your brother late into the night. Yeah, the kind of stuff.
He would have just been so happy to have some male company. He was overrun with females.
It's true.
A lot of female energy in your house.
Definitely.
I remember playing on that old computer you guys had.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So we would play those really old, Civilization, and those other, like that Cannon game. I can't remember what it's called. The tank one. And, yeah. Play that for hours and hours. Yeah. Oh, God. It was, and your brother was always really good at all the games, and I was just basically participating, just so they had someone to beat. And we would stay up late at night, and we'd on the mIRC really chat.
Fond memories of
you know those online, the old school chats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mIRC. We would stay up and just chat on mIRC to random people.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. So like these girls would, send messages to us, and in the old days it was ASL, age, sex, location.
Oh my gosh.
And then it would send questions like, "Are you hot?"
That's your opening line, ASL.
I have this very clear memory of one apparent. Well, I mean, I wouldn't know if it was a girl; it could be anybody because there's no photos back then. But it was the question came through as, "Are you hot?" And then your brother replied with, "Well, we're on fire for Jesus."
Oh my gosh, that's a line. I wonder if that ever worked for him.
Oh God, so good. So, I mean, as you were saying, you guys spent a lot of time at our house too, right? I don't know if do you remember much about that house, our house?
Yes, so much. Oh my gosh, we had so many and sorry, my baby's just woke up, so if you hear some baby noises, that's my 3-month-old. Please excuse her.
Gives it a more of a wholesome feel.
Yeah.
Real life.
Yeah, this is real life, guys. We're fully adulting here.
Well, I don't know if I am, but go on.
I remember so many fun weekends, like when a whole bunch of us were coming over to your guys' place, and we'd play tag. It was your guys' place that they had the hay bales, right? This wasn't sardines.
Sardines where you all go hide. Yeah. Then you join the person that you find.
And the top of the water tank was the spot. If you could climb up there, if you couldn't, hard luck.
See, I was the best. I remember I would be the last one to be found, and you would just everyone would just give up. I would get because I was super serious.
Right,
I remember I would get but I would get my camo jacket on. Do you remember? Camo jacket. I'd put on my black beanie and get all, hashtag professional.
Yeah, Shane was the same. He had like the full body kit. And we would play Spotlight at our place too, because we would often have sleepovers at our place at the Orchard.
Yeah.
And it was just like next level. My family took it very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone had full camo. Shane buried himself in grass clippings one year.
Yes, I remember that.
I've just had a random memory too. How Shane used to come over to our place when he made that potato gun.
Yeah, I was just about to say the potato gun. Yeah.
And he used to go through so much hairspray to get it going. But it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Boom.
So good.
Yeah. Scaring all the neighborhood animals.
Yeah.
We didn't care.
Nah. And probably some of my best memories of being at your guys' place was with Briar. And I was saying to Briar earlier today, she basically taught me how to ride a horse properly.
Really?
I think, I was pretty
Was that after I left?
when I... No, you were still around.
Because I was just excluded then.
Yeah. That was
Since when have you taken interest in my horses?
No.
Well, I took an interest in Rachel, so.
No, you were just kind of, you went around. It was boring for you. But I was so into it. And I just remember like riding in the circle in that grass patch where the driveway came in. Mm-hmm. Riding in a circle as Bri was in the middle and her yelling, heels down. And I was like, okay. But like,
giving orders like only Bri can.
Yeah. Like she spoke to me like she was speaking to her horses and I was like, who is this Bri? Like,
so now you know how I grew up feeling.
No, but I remember at that age just being so impressed with the confidence that she had with those horses and like the skill she had. Mm-hmm. Anyone who knew how to care or ride horses like she did, and I was just always so impressed. And we used to go on mad adventures, like to the back of the farm. And I do remember this one time, Kieran, you thought we didn't know you were there, but you were following us with your gun and in your camo, and you were like crawling in the bush. And I we see you, Kieran.
That does sound like something. That does sound like something I would do.
Creepy.
Because I do remember.
Stalkerish.
I do remember another time I did this exact same thing. I did the exact same thing once. Everybody came over for lunch after church once. And then I was a bit of a loner as well. Like I liked hanging around with people, but then all of a sudden I'd go through an introvert phase and I would just wander off while everyone was there with my gun and my camo gear. And would sneak up with my binoculars and try to spy everyone. And then I could hear everyone on the deck saying, where's Kieran? And it was with your cousin, actually. I remember your cousin there, Rachel. And then I was watching them on the binoculars and they looked out and they were like, oh, there he is. Because like the sun was reflecting off my ginger head.
Yeah.
It was like you could spot me straight away.
Yeah, but I definitely had we had so many adventures, Brian. It was so fun. I remember always coming up to that little hill, that little hill that we'd let them just go for it. And I could just feel the horse getting I can't remember their names, getting so excited under me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how much longer I can hold him back. And then Brad's like, okay, go. And I'll be like, oh my God, and just galloping up the hill. It was so fun.
Oh, such good memories.
Yeah, so many good memories.
I think we probably all went out over that farm as well. I think I remember taking people out on the farm to maybe, I don't know if we did eeling together, but I've definitely taken people on the farm.
I think for, most of our, friends that we had, they all lived in town. So it was such a novelty to come out to the farm and see the horses. And we had calves and lambs and taking them out on the farm for walks it was so much fun. Showing them our world,
Playing tag on the hay bales, that was fun.
Oh, yeah.
And coming back all rashy and itchy.
Yeah, and just smelling like awful.
Yeah, and then the I don't know if we ever told you, but the neighbour got super, super mad at us for doing that because we ripped off all the plastic off his hay.
Did we?
We basically destroyed his hay bales. And as an adult, I know how annoying that must have been.
Oh, we were
so expensive. So much work. Well, because we always loved it when you guys came over to our house because we had a bit more freedom because, our parents kind of trusted you, I guess. You were known. And so we could go off on the farm and just they just didn't really chase up on us all the time. And so probably most of the fun memories that I have as a teenager involved you guys and, a few of the others, of course, but mostly your family. I just I don't know about Bri, but I just remember feeling so at home with you guys because we're
definitely
because you were so much of a de facto family for me, and as Brian and I have talked about previously, we didn't necessarily have a lot of fun at home. We weren't like a really active family and stuff. And of course, Mum was often worked really long hours, and Dad was the same with his own business. And so the only time we were at home kind of in quote unquote fun hours was just her and I. And we weren't going to have fun together. So the fact that we would just go off and do all these kind of crazy activities with people our own age was just like a massive blessing, for lack of a better word.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess like we could kind of segue into the youth group part, because this was such a big deal for all of us, right? And like, what are the first memories that come to your mind when you think about the youth group? Firstly, what was it called? What was the youth group called?
Youth group. Oh, I think it was just called youth group, but.
Wow.
Well,
we definitely had a name at one point.
I think we did, because when we used to do missions places, we were definitely, because we got T-shirts made. Do you remember?
Was it VIP Youth? I know that's a magazine.
Yes.
Like
I saw that was down somewhere. Yeah.
Because we had the youth group magazine, which I was the editor of, and that was super fun. And
what was it called?
That name changed a few times. It started off as VIP Youth, and then there's a photo that I sent you, Kieran, as well, and we changed the name to Eternal Fusion, because we had let's all think about like what name can we call, and that was one of the names that everyone voted for. And I've got a photo, and everyone's holding up letters spelling out.
Yes, so that's
Fusion,
what that was.
And we're all in it. That was I
was trying to figure out what Eternal Fusion was.
Yeah, but so to just explain that a little bit to listeners, what is this chick talking about? So every term we'd just have, like, every Friday we'd have games at the church, and it was all kind of the youth group leaders would plan it out for a whole term almost. My mum was actually one of the youth leaders towards the end, and she did a lot of the crazier fun stuff. And through the term, like, I would take photos and people would take photos, and at the last week of term, I would print out this youth group magazine, and it had like photos from all the stuff we got up to, and it had like a page with a quiz and all this different stuff. And Briar and Kieran, I'll send you the letter as well. I sent this letter out to everybody that was participating, and it was me, you, Kieran, and Anna, and all of us had, like, I delegated all these jobs to everybody, and Kieran had to like get all the photos together, and it was old school because I would get these pages together, just a printed page, and I would have to print each page off like 30 times and then physically staple them together into a magazine. And then
it's all coming back to me now. I remember that. Yeah.
And then the final youth group night, I would hand them out, and everyone would just skip to the photos pages to see if they made it photos. And then I used to make up these quizzes, like these personality quizzes, and like it was so much fun. The geek in me was able to come out then.
Yeah.
And I thought you guys roped into it as well, obviously.
Yep. So what about the youth group itself? What do you remember of that time?
I think a lot more than you guys.
Definitely. This is basically an open question for you to fill in the gaps here.
I just mainly remember all the fun. Like there was one Friday that the youth group leaders turned the entire church into a life-size board game. Do you guys remember that? And they changed they put all the chairs together.
It was called the Game of Life, wasn't it?
Was it the Game of Life? We need to go through boxes, and it was so fun. And like, I think it was an eating competition, and it was messy. And I can't help thinking that if the older members of the church saw the state of the church that night, they never would have wanted us back in here. But it was fun.
Well, because the youth group that wasn't very old, right? As in, like, it hadn't been around for very long. And I don't think the senior leaders really knew what we were doing. They were just that way. Something.
But that was, I think, what was it, Brian?
I definitely have memories. I don't know if it was that night, but eating dry wheat bix as part of the competition.
Yes.
I think we did that quite often. It's the ultimate torture.
No, but so many fun nights. There was that. There was like a dress-up night, and the girls came dressed as princesses, and I can't remember what the boys dressed up as. And like the boys and girls nights, I think you guys talked about that the last time. But the girls nights, I don't remember talking about anything serious. We just had fun. Like my mum.
So the awkwardness was just for the guys then?
Yeah, just for you guys. We just wanted to have fun. Girls just want to have fun.
Well, guys want to have fun too, you know.
We had like face masks. I remember everyone sitting up their feet up on the chairs, and we had like these egg white face masks. And
oh my God. That's very classic boy/girl activities.
Yeah. And then we had like a lot of annual events. Like there was the Christian Ball in Whangarei where all the different youth groups would come together.
Yep.
And one year, all the girls got ready at your guys' house.
Yes.
And that was so fun. And I've got photos from that too. And that was a really special time. I think it was the first ball I'd ever been to. Like,
I think
it was the only,
most of us. Yeah.
It was the only one I got to go to, actually. And looking back at those photos you sent me, oh my Lord. My clothes were atrocious.
Oh, we were just babies.
Well, no, I thought I think most people look pretty good. I was just like, I had no idea about anything fashion related or even like how to get a suit or anything. Like I think it was probably the first time that I'd ever dressed anything close to formal.
Well, let's be honest, that was more for the girls, right? Like the girls just wanted to get dolled up. And I remember waking up at your house, Brian, and all of us still had makeup on. And I remember you yelling out, "Why didn't someone tell me to take my makeup off?" We were just a mess and we had to go to church the next day.
Oh, funny. I have a memory of, vivid memories from that night, actually. And I remember thinking, gosh, you look so amazing in your dress. And here I am in my hands sewing. My hands sewing, it was awful, material that I'd picked out at the material shop. And got it made. Oh, it was horrendous.
Oh, I made my dad buy that dress. I was like, Dad, this is my first, maybe only ball. You've got to do it. You've got to pay the money. And he did it. Bless his soul.
I don't really remember like what our parents were like. There's that kind of stereotypical view of what parents are like for their children's balls. I don't remember what my mum and dad were doing since we were at our house. Do you remember that, Brian?
I know Mum was fussing over me, like, because I think I was getting frustrated that I didn't like my outfit, and she was like,
that sounds right.
And she was like wanting to take lots of pictures, but apart from that, I can't really remember. She must have just been sort of staying out of it because there was heaps of us there.
There was. She was the ultimate host. She really did look after us all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I would deal with that many teenage girls in my house guessing about how they look.
Yes. And we did lots of we had lots of sleepovers and stuff.
Yeah. We did have a lot of people.
Yeah.
So they were kind of used to that
quite often.
Yeah, that's true. And then there was also like the annual summer camp at Roy's Beach. Do you remember that, Briar?
Yes. When I saw the pictures.
You're definitely old enough. Yeah.
Yeah. See, because I don't really remember it. I remember the fact that we went there.
Photos.
I remember that's probably where I ate kina for the first time.
I like kina.
Yeah, I did it just to look tough, but we were just eating them straight out of the sea.
Which is how it's done.
Yeah, that and oysters.
Yeah.
So that was so fun, like bull rush on the beach and just going along the coastline and those silly games on the beach, like sandcastle competitions and just lying on the sand at night looking at the stars.
Oh, the big bonfire, right?
Yes.
Oh, that was crazy too. Yeah.
It
was so fun.
But there was also am I thinking of the same beach where the church had the batch? Is that the same place?
No, that's different. That's different. Tenere. Yeah.
Right, because I think we did some camps up there as well. Or, did at least trips or at least day trips up there.
Yeah. That's a different beach. So Rose Beach was like, you could only access Rose Beach from his property. That's why we nicknamed it Rose Beach.
Right, yeah.
And he just gave us full access to it, which was so nice.
And what about like some of the other trips that we did away?
Yeah.
So I have vague recollections of
like
going
I said,
away.
I remember all of them.
You were a big part of the youth group in terms of dancing and stuff like that, weren't you? Like you were part of the dance groups when we did those missions.
Oh yeah. So I only remembered those today actually. Like I think I was saying to you, Brian, like when you let your mind go back to certain times, it's amazing what you remember that you thought you'd forgotten.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had these different groups and we'd go around to different churches and perform and stuff. And I was not that good at music, so I didn't make it to the music group. But I did a bunch of us were in this little dance group and we danced to different songs. Usually, I think it was, what do we dance to? Shackles. That was all I remembered, I think.
Shackles off my feet.
I was actually going to, and also the other ongoing track that was kind of almost our theme song as a youth group was Jesus Freak, right?
Jesus Freak, yeah.
And I was going to, maybe I'll throw that in post. but it was such a theme song.
I still to this day remember all the lyrics to Shackles, and when it comes on the radio, I sing it at the top of my lungs.
But you know why? It's because you played it a million fucking times at home.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
I would hear that at home and I would just go nuts. Like, I couldn't stand it. I hear it now and I have flashbacks.
It's so catchy though.
We had do you guys remember the van that was the youth group's van? I think it was funded by the church.
Yep.
And we would just blast our music and all the girls would whip out their impulse cans and sing at the top of their lungs. I've got a photo. I sent to Kieran. I'm pretty sure Shackles was one of our favourite songs. That and DC Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which, if no one knows who they were a popular.
Look them up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were the OG, like Christian rock.
Yeah.
Well, they must have been established like in the 90s, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, that was kind of like the hip hop rock crossover. Yeah.
Big when you're a Christian.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah, and trying to learn all the rap.
Oh yeah, like pausing the cassette tape, writing the words down. Play, pause. Showing my age now. But we went on other trips as well. We did a Ruakaka camping trip. Now I'm not sure, Briar, if you did you come? Yes. Did you come?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one of the ones I remember most vividly, actually.
I don't. Unsurprisingly, I don't.
I remember it. This is sort of implicating myself here, but I remember it vividly because I wet the bed.
Oh no.
Because we were staying in the bunk beds, right? And it was like the girls' quarters and the guys.
Cabins,
and and unfortunately I was on the top bunk too.
Oh no.
Wow, you'll never forget that trip. I remember it for other reasons.
And whoever was underneath you won't forget
either. But I do remember the hall there where we did all the performing and all the acts and whatever. We had practiced for months and months beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I remember like the boat, and we went out on the Biscuit, and they had this huge homemade slippery slide that went down the side of the hill. It was massive. I remember the fun stuff. I don't remember all the performing and stuff that well, but
yeah,
because we also did.
Sorry, bro.
Cooper's Beach as well. That had we did a youth camp there, which also had they'd had a big water slide, which they ended up stopping because actually it was quite dangerous. It was pretty steep and it went straight into the river, didn't it?
It was pretty fast.
Yes, very fast.
Let kids have their fun. Far out.
Yeah.
I think, I guess for people who don't know the area that we grew up on, it was pretty much a paradise, I think, for young people growing up, because there's just so many things that we could do that just purely involved outdoor activities, right? And the amount of times that all of us spent swimming in rivers and hanging out at the beach, kayaking, or just going on walks and stuff. And we were just so privileged. And of course, all those things we just I definitely took them for granted.
For sure. Until you move away and come back.
Yeah, it was the kind of.
You just want to move to the big smoke. Everything's happening there. And then looking back, I'm just like, what was wrong with me? I lived in paradise.
Yes.
And I didn't see it until I'm older.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, both you lived in big cities, but for me, living in London for many years and then coming back home, it was like, oh my God, why did I leave this place? It's amazing.
Yeah, you learn to appreciate different things, I guess, as an adult, right?
Yeah.
But I guess that kind of, if we could kind of push towards the end of your time, Rachel, how did it feel transitioning out of being in that kind of small kind of community into the quote unquote big world?
Yeah, that was different. So I was chatting to my mum about this recently, and I think it was around 17. So I was really, really deeply involved with church and youth group, and the church was pretty good at integrating youth group to be part of a lot of church events. We'd do stuff during Christmas and Easter, and they kind of made us feel like part of the church a lot of the time. So church really was our second home. My whole my siblings, my whole family, we felt really safe there, and spent a lot of time at church and youth group. So I think when I was about 17, I started having 1 foot in and 1 foot out, which is pretty natural at that age to kind of find your own wings, I guess. But I just started to question some of the things like that. So
did you have many friends outside of the church?
So I did a little bit, but mostly once I turned 18 and I was homeschooled right up until I was 17, and then I did my last year in school at Kerry High, and that's when I started making tons of friends outside of church. And also I had my first boyfriend just before I turned 18, and then all his friends became my friends, and that was like a completely new world for me as well. And that's when I started like one foot out, 1 foot in church, and then eventually I was like, I think I'm either in or out, because the church that we went to was kind of, there's no grey area. You're either in 100% or you're out.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then when I got my first boyfriend, I was like, I'm really in the grey here. I need to decide which way I'm going. And I eventually decided I've just got to step away from church because I think I want to keep this boyfriend.
And I don't know if you guys remember, but back in probably late 90s and early 2000s, there was a lot of talk about fence sitters. So there was a lot of talk in youth group and in church about, deciding whether you're in or out.
Yeah, there was that verse in the Bible, right, about God spitting people out of your mouth if you're lukewarm. I remember hearing that a lot at youth group.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just interesting, right, how, because as you will be aware, Rachel, like I went straight from one church bubble into another bubble, and it just continued. But when did you leave Kitty?
Me, I don't leave. So 18, I did my last year at high school, and then I actually stayed for one more year. I almost went to Victoria University, but I ended up deciding that I was either going to travel for a year or just work for a year and just party and have fun, because you've been studying for 13 years. Why not just have a gap year? And then after that gap period finished, I realized that all I wanted to do was travel, and let's get in the travel industry. And that's what I did. So I think I left just after I turned 19, I think. Yeah, just after I turned 19, I left Kerry. And by then I had like lots of different groups of friends. I had still some of my old church friends, some international friends I'd made through school, some non-church friends. I had a whole heap of different friends. It was really interesting time in life, actually.
Where did you end up moving to? Was it Auckland?
Auckland, I went to Auckland, and I studied travel for like a year, and then I came back to Kerry and became a travel agent, but didn't go back to church.
Yeah.
So I've decided pretty early on that I think I came to a fork in the road, and I decided church and youth group had kind of served me as much as it was going to. And I was going to take this walk over here, which took me a different way, and church and youth group just wouldn't serve me in that lifestyle that I chose.
Yeah.
But,
it was probably about that time that we lost contact, because we were kind of little bit stayed in contact probably that first year or so when I went to uni. But then it became obvious, like you and your brother we'd kind of gone different directions, not just in life, but I was still very much in the church life, and you guys were doing your life, and I suppose it always happens that way when you move away from home. And we just gradually fell out of contact, especially after I got married as well, I remember.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that I learned as well, like at youth group. Friends come in your life for a reason, a season, or for a lifetime. And it's not until you look back when you're older and realize which friends were a season or a reason, like, to build character or to teach you something.
Yeah. I guess because we're talking for a little while already. Maybe I just kind of bring it sort of to an ending. Like when you look back now, and we've kind of been talking a little bit about this offline, reflecting on the past and reflecting on where we came from and everything. Is there anything if I could rephrase that, what do you think you miss the most about that time of your life? Or if there is anything that you miss about that time of your life?
I would probably say, so one of the things that was a positive that came out of church and youth group was the village that we built around ourselves during that really, really critical time when you're in your teens, and especially late teens. And from that, every time I moved to a new city or moved somewhere else, I always made sure to build that village around me, because I remember that sense of community and support system from being in church and youth group. That's probably what I miss the most.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely concur, and I've talked about this many times, is the first thing I used to do when I moved to a new place was to go and find a church community to join. And I no longer have that. And especially for me now, as I am living in a new city, I've definitely, you notice that lack of community. And I mean, obviously it was a default for me to do that back in those days. And I wouldn't say I miss that so much, but I miss the feeling of being in a part of that community with all of us together, and we're all kind of there for the same reasons.
And making friends was so much easier because of it, right? It's so hard as an adult now to make friends when you think we're not, you have to find some common ground, whereas going to church, you already had something in common, and everyone was so friendly, and whereas, none of us would have that now.
Yeah. What about the place, Rachel? How do you feel about quote unquote home as an adult?
Do you mean Kiri?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's home for me. It'll always be home for me. As soon as I hit Kiri, I just feel like this huge sense of relief and like a burden's just lifted off. It's home for me. I love going home and reminiscing about like going down to Charlie's Rock and going to the river, and I love it. So my sister still lives there, and my mum still lives there. So whenever I go home, which isn't that often lately because I've got 3 kids now, I always spend a decent amount of time up there, and I love it. The beaches, and I still to this day have never lived further than 30 minutes from the beach, and I think living in the Bay of Islands had a big impact on me. Like I just always wanted to be close.
Yeah. It's interesting because, I mean, for me, so like for me, Kiri is, I see it in a different light because, and I think this is very much related to how things felt for us at home, because I think both Briar and I felt very restrictive, and it didn't feel like we felt that kind of freedom. And again, to reiterate, that's why we loved hanging out with you guys, because you were encouraged to kind of explore the world. And that, I suppose, that was the beauty of your kind of homeschooling environment, that you were encouraged to get out and experience it. So for me, when I left, I just didn't, firstly, I didn't go back for 15 years the first time I left. But then when I went back a couple of years ago, it felt very strange to go back for me. And while I was hit by that initial wave of nostalgia, I didn't feel like home. I felt very, very disconnected with it. I still get that feeling of like I can acknowledge, my brain tells me it's a good place, and my brain tells me there's a lot of good things there, but it doesn't feel like mine.
Yeah, wow, it's interesting. I suppose like Kiri, like the township of Kiri, we lived like quite close to it.
Yeah, and so, I'm sure that helps. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably why it's a little bit different for me, and like we spend a lot of the time in the township and the surrounding areas, so maybe that's why as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian, do you have anything like to round off?
No, I was just going to say, it's interesting you say you don't feel connected to as a place like home. For me, I feel like when I talk to, friends and they ask where's home for me, I still do say like Bay of Islands, and I have so many good memories from that house where we spent most of our time like as teenagers. Yes, we didn't have a lot of freedoms, but we also had a great lifestyle there, being brought up on the farm. And maybe for me it was more different because I had the horses, so I was really happy living there. So I still feel quite connected to that house in particular. Like I would love to go and walk around that house again. But in terms of Kiri as a whole and the place and the people, and I feel quite disconnected from it as well. And possibly because I've been away for so many years as well, living sort of on the other side of the world for so many years.
Yeah, and I guess, Rachel, you're still connected there with family, whereas Briar and I have a few more degrees of separation to
exactly. A lot of people
get across.
Moved on. Yeah.
And we both, we left home when we were sort of 17, same as you, but we didn't really go back. When my parents or our parents moved on from that house, and it just never really felt the same. So that's
because and when they lost that house, that was probably the biggest part of me severing that time of my life, because when I thought of home, it was that house, like hands down, because it was such an amazing place. And so when we didn't have that anymore, it's just what's the point?
Yeah. And because our parents moved around a lot, they did, I don't know what you call it, professional house sitting. So we didn't have, when you were in uni and when I moved away to study, we didn't have a home as such to come back to, a physical place. So it just
definitely
sort of
makes a huge difference. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I guess we could probably call it to a close there. But thank you, thank you for joining us, Rach.
Oh, that's okay. I might just add something. I just might just add something before you wrap up for the day. I just want to acknowledge you both, because like on this journey you're taking, it's not easy to open up about the past, and I'm sure you both have a vulnerability hangover the next day after each episode.
Oh, for sure.
Like
podcast regret, I call it.
Yeah, and I kind of feel this kind of tension building in my chest for things in the future that I have to talk about.
Well, I just want to acknowledge you guys, because it's really brave to do this. And I think I'll just put my mummy hat on for a second, because becoming a mum, I've done a lot of reflecting in the past and things. And I just want to say, like, as you go through your memories, just try and find the joy in the memories and try and reframe that pain into progress and find the lessons. Because I can tell you, like, as a real world example, when I was friends with you guys, one of my biggest insecurities was that I never fit in, because I was friends with my church friends and my Māori friends and my international friends, and I could move through them really easily, but I never really 100% felt like I belonged with any of them. And that was like this massive insecurity for me. But now, like, as an adult, I look back and I'm just like, only I could tell that 18-year-old self that is your superpower.
Totally. Yeah.
So maybe I'll just turn the tables on you guys for a second. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self and just whisper a little piece of advice in their ear, what would you say? What, like thinking back what we talked about, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
That's a good question. You go first, Kieran.
I mean, I know that I was, as you've just admitted, I was massively insecure, and so I went through my whole teenage years and even well into my 20s thinking that no one actually wanted to talk to me. And so every time I entered a conversation, it was in the belief that people were just putting up with me. And that hugely changed who I thought about myself as a person, of course. And so, like, if there was one thing that I would say, it's just stop giving so much of a fuck. Just relax, just let yourself be who you are. And because all the decisions I was making, and all the decisions I was making through all of those years had this as a filter. And so I won't say I regret it, but it definitely made things take a lot longer. And so that's basically how I feel now. And only in the last 5 to 10 years could I say that I feel really secure about who I am. And it's just changed my life, right? And so that would definitely be the thing I would say to myself.
Isn't it funny how we all felt the same? Because I don't want to be like, me too, but me too, right? Like I was
it's a character trait of,
I was also the most insecure person, and it's interesting hearing you saying you were too, Rachel, because I just thought you were the most confident and extroverted person, and I wanted to be more like you. But how funny, looking back as adults, I was also the same. I just felt like I didn't really fit in with sort of the cool group, and and I would probably say something similar about like stop caring what people think. And it's only as you get older and reflect and you realize what matters and what doesn't. And I would love to have some of the confidence that I have now back then to be like, nah, who cares? Just be you. Like,
totally.
And I guess these are the lessons we learn to pass down to our kids.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Which is what I'm trying to do now, but you.
Yeah. Making that conscious effort, to instill that confidence from a young age.
But then again, we never listen to our parents, so karma probably won't listen to us. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, I like to think that we can maybe parent in a different way, that we've learned something from our parents that we can pass on. But who knows? I'm not the one to talk. I've got no kids on the way.
and our kids will be in like 2045 doing a podcast about how shit their parents were.
Oh, gosh.
Cool. All right. Thanks so much, Rach, for coming on. And
Thank you.
Maybe if we need to phone in a friend for some outside perspective to force us to cheer up a little. We'll call you in.
if you ever
just to keep us grateful
in your podcast, just phone me up.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks. And to everyone out there who's listening, who's made it this far, congratulations. And thank you. And join us when we tune in next time for a quote unquote normal episode. But yeah, thanks everyone. Okay, well, we're here. I'm just going to do a quick intro and then we'll get straight into it. I myself have a date at 6 p.m. So
stop it, Kieran. Living your best single life.
But do you want to show her that picture of you having wet your pants?
Oh my God.
Put it away.
Oh, how's that?
Okay, well, anyway,